Hi, I want to walk through an example of using the basics of linguistics and pattern finding in languages to teach, in this case, sentence frames. It's kind of a model for anything that you might want to teach. The key here is this particular lesson was really designed for young learners, and I think that there's a myth that with young learners we can't use a linguistic perspective. And again, I think this is a really big myth because the human brain is a pattern finder. It wants to find patterns. So if we give students the opportunity to find patterns, they will, and that is a linguistic perspective of language learning. That's language arts with a linguistics perspective, one of the goals of the course. So here's Dr. Susan Britch's work. Here's her contact information. I want to give her credit for this. It's called Teaching Sentence Frames from Texts. And by text, she means books that she uses in her class with elementary school English language learners. When she says sentence frames, she just means the idea that syntax has slots, and we'll see this as we go on. Now, the book that she presented this on is called The Big Orange Splot. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's she read the part of the book to us in the presentation, and it was about all the houses being the same, but then one house got a big orange spot, and the owner decided to make it more his own. So after reading the book, which has a lot of the same patterns of my house is, and it also then it has a pattern there. So she said, and I fully agree, that we can scaffold this idea by starting with the students drawing a picture of what their house is. The presenter drew a picture of a cupcake here, and she said, my house is a cupcake. Again, we're just getting the students, it's something that we could do in kindergarten or first grade level. The students could write this themselves the best they can, or it could be dictated, right? They could draw the picture and dictate. So after reading the story, after having them draw and decide for themselves what their house would be, she then said you could focus on looking at these different slots, right? You could say, my house is yellow, my house is comfortable, my house is ginormous. And she talked about how you could have the students, these are the students' answers from her class, you could then put them, they could decide where to put them. My house is, and then it could be an adjective phrase. Now right here, she has an adjective, but this should really be an adjective phrase. And there's also a pattern of my house is a noun phrase, a cupcake, a ranch, a balloon, right? And another one is my house is, and then followed by a prepositional phrase, at the lake, in Paris. And she stressed that the students, she would accept at first that the students could put their answer wherever. And then she would go back and say, is there anything that we should change? How do we feel about this? Right? So she talked a lot about how doing this piece by piece, accepting what they do, and then having them think about the patterns afterwards. Okay, so let's move on to the next page here. She said another sentence frame that's in this book is a who, action verb, and then a what, which is a noun phrase. Like, he dropped the can, it made, he got, he planted palm trees. Again, this is a sentence frame that they can see for themselves. and they can see the pattern and they can understand what a sentence is by this. Now, she explained at the end that you would not want to focus on this sentence at the bottom for this sentence frame. Oh, that went to the next page, because this is not the same structure. He went out to get lumber. First, went out is a phrasal verb, and maybe you don't want to introduce that right now, because we want to give students examples that fit the pattern, not challenge the pattern when we're first introducing. And to get lumber, although there's a noun phrase here, to get lumber is an infinitive phrase, and that's all acting like an adverbial phrase, so it doesn't really follow this pattern really well. And she also suggested that maybe we don't even want to include, let's see if I can move down just a little bit. It doesn't seem to want me to move down just a little bit. Oh, the love of she also said that you probably don't want to at this time to use these sentences here at the bottom. He was carrying a can of bright orange paint. Again, a can of bright orange paint is a large noun phrase with a noun phrase inside the prepositional phrase inside the noun phrase. But you see how was carrying includes aspect, just like was drinking includes aspect. And right at that moment, when you're introducing the idea of sentence frames, you want to give them lots of patterns instead. Okay, now let's go to the next page. And it's so she stresses that you can dramatize. She talked about how we can use, we learn language through visual, kinesthetic, auditory, and through experience. And through these modes, sensory modes, we get perceptual images, and through these perceptual images we get concepts, and concepts is language. So again, we don't have to think that this is a linguistic perspective is only for older children. It's a way that we can think about things. I want to also talk about, this is another sentence frame she was introducing. I want to just caution you about this. I would not use this term. Was and looks is not really a describing verb. These are just linking verbs. In linguistics, this is a copula, just like the ones with the adjective phrase and the noun phrases and the prepositional phrases in the beginning, because was of it in and of itself does not describe anything, right? It just connects the subject with the predicate. And here she's calling this frame the word like plus a what, which is a noun phrase. Technically this is an prepositional phrase, but as she pointed out, you don't have to teach that right now. You can just say, we can say was like a rainbow, and see that as a pattern in language. And again, she gives a teacher follow-up here. Again, she gives some advice, and I give that to you to, this is gonna be posted for you to read. The key thing here is I really like that she focused on the multimodal parts of it. It started with listening to a story and hearing the patterns. It started with students drawing their own visual to perceptual image concept and then layering on the language. And I really like this idea. She said, then set up a sentence wall in your classroom so that whenever they see that frame, they can put that sentence up. And this could be with the labels, like, who, action verb, what, noun phrase, or it could be without the labels as they get more experienced. Let's see what else, if there's anything else. And she really focused this on kindergarten. So again, this is not something that we can only do with older children. And she also gave how it could be listening, speaking, and domains based on the different levels of the English language learners. I hope that this helped you see how we can use use the ideas of this course at whatever level that we're teaching.